Well, there's no dodging in the VG8, and surprisingly, it looks like Bren Esports going to go for that glaive ban. Not a bad ban, but not the expected ban we were looking for.
I mean, Glaive overall does decently well against the Petal as well. You can go into the backlines, remove Petal altogether without, having to deal with those pesky minions. So, Lance, guessing X on this Lance, this was something that I was talking about with Minimiter earlier on. It's just how well he is on, he plays on this Lance. And I must say, if it was yesterday's match, the MVP would definitely go on to guessing X on this Lance, and we do see that Petal being banned out from the side of Bren Esports.
Yep, I mean, turns out it makes sense. If you're not going to go for the meta ban, to just go for a targeted ban. So I did speculate that we could see the pedal ban coming through, but right now Celeste and Scarf still both available for either team. And what's interesting to see is there's a Lyra that's being picked up, which could suggest that they go for the likes or Celeste or Scarf more than likely, just because it's a very good hero to help out when you've got that mage hero that's standing one place while casting their spells. You can have the Imperial Sigil on top of them to help heal them up. But personally, I prefer the Grace pickup. I just prefer Grace's kit at the moment compared to Lyra. I like the more aggressive playstyle, and you can still use the heal, and when you get Echo, then you've just got multiple heals available to you, and it's usually enough for most team fights. So that's just my personal say on it, but they're going to go for the Taka pickup.
Well, Taka, it's quite unusual for the side of Nebulae. Only reason because Iron Will Die plays a very good Taka, but all in all, whenever you see Nebulae comes out with the team comp, what happens is that they try to protect Trophies as carry. So it's quite surprising, and of course it is refreshing to see, the Taka being picked up by the side of Nebulae. However, the side of Bren Esports, they have got a lot of options on hand, and I must agree with you as well. Grace is a much better pickup all in all. And I prefer Grace over Lyra as well, because Lyra just falls off in the late game in terms of healing. However, Grace can be easily countered, but we will be seeing a Grace when I'm talking about Grace, and we have a very, very thick comp coming out from the side of Bren Esports with that Grace, with that Lance, probably a weapon Lance, and they will settle for maybe a Celeste, if not a Scarf, for that of Blaine, which will just do very well in that early game. You get your items really quickly, you get your levels as well if you do the standard rotations that we are seeing from 2.8, but I take all of that back because Bren Esports will just settle for that Baron.
Yes, a rather confusing draft we're seeing here. Are we going to see double weapon power on the side of Bren Esports, or do you think we might see even a CP Lance or Grace?
If you were to ask me, this is purely very bad drafting coming out from the entirety of Bren Esports. I'm not even gonna try to honeycomb my words or sugar drizzle it, because with a Taka on board,
or sugar drizzle, okay.
Yeah, because with a Taka on board, we saw it in the previous game between Nebulae and Infamous, if I remember correctly. In the previous game, the first semifinals, the last set. So we saw Chingy on that Taka just owning Baron to hell and back, right? There was no way Baron could breathe whatsoever. Oh, it was Bren Esports. Yeah, Bren Esports going up against Infamous. Infamous. And honestly, Taka just does so well bursting Baron down. Even if you have the heal coming up from Grace, Taka's Etretsu inflicts mortal wound, and with that mortal wound inflicted, your healing will be nerfed, will be stunned by a third. And that is quite an amount, unless of course Grace builds the very early Shatter Glass into an Echo, which means you'll be an off tank, not a true captain that is really, really tanky and can just take a lot of beating and abuse. And with that in mind, Bren Esports is just so very confusing. Like you say, it's a very peculiar, very strange drafting method coming out from Bren Esports.
Yes, very strange indeed, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But I mean, if a team's gonna do it, Bren Esports surprised us initially when they went up against Infamous by picking up that weapon power pedal, and it almost worked out for them. In a few games it did. I mean, they pushed it through to the third match, and they played very well through 2 of those matches. I believe they picked up that weapon power pedal, and I think that they don't have it here because it is banned out. But they've gone for something else that we're not too sure about as shoutcasters, let's be honest.
Well, okay.
You called it a bad draft, but I'm going to put my hope in Bren Esports and see what they can do.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Guessing X is an amazing LAN, but we'll not be seeing his LANs. We don't have that honor to just, reign in his glory of LAN's glory and that Gideon wall that he constantly put out in a very crucial timing, saving his teammates. But all in all, we have Grace. We have Guessing X on that Grace, and that means Sync 1 will be on that on-hit LANs, if I'm not wrong. I mean, at this point in time, it is only pure speculations. I will not know what will come out from Bren Esports. Probably an on-hit LANs just to balance out. If not, then, a tension bow into double Sorrow Blade LANs. That hurts a lot as well. So Bren Esports may just want to go for that. And honestly, Bren Esports.com, they have got a lot of burst damage. They have got a lot of early game burst, short-term burst damage. Whereas for the side of Nebulae, they are very sustained heavy heroes. You have the Lyra that can provide sustain. You have Taka, which is very weird to say for Taka, that will eventually build that Aftershock if he's not going for the Shatterglass Clockwork build. And then if not, then if he's going for that Aftershock build, then he has got to sustain on top of that as well. He has got a Kaku to just regain back the lost health in any team fights and then rejoin his team again. And of course, trophies on that CP Black Feather, I reckon. Oh, wait. Okay.
Yes.
No, because I just thought of something, but I Angry You Die taking a lot of damage. Just speculate. I mean, it is just pure speculation at this point in time. But trophies play a lot of majors, so...
Ooh, and there's going to be the route into the stun onto Trophies, who gets out there by jumping to a minion, barely getting out for safety. And Bren Esports putting a lot of pressure down with that 3-man rotation up there. And wait, minion candies coming out from the side of Nebulae, actually. Maybe used a bit earlier than they would have liked to, but right now, the pressure being put on in lane here by Mr. Jim and Guessing, I really love it. And this is what I love about aggressive Grace gameplay.
Yep, and the thing that I wanted to point out earlier on is that trophies, it is pure speculation at this point in time because a lot of Tarkas do buy double weapon blade, but seeing the current build on Iron View Die and trophies, I'm not surprised if trophies would just settle for the CP Black Feather, and Iron View Die would just go for the weapon, Aftershock, no, not Aftershock, sorry, Tension Bow, Taka, and that, okay, no, I take all of that back. Iron View Die just bought an old card, which means he will go for Storm Crown, that means it will be an Aftershock Storm Crown, CP Taka, and the trophies will go for the weapon. There you go, the heavy steel.
Yeah, they're just messing with you, Luxura, just like Sync 1 was messing with Nebulae, manages to get the steal on that mid-treant, and yeah, I mean, I'm still going to hold my hope in Bren Esports' hands here, and we'll see whether your predictions of, even though Nebulae got supposedly the better draft, if they're going to be able to pull through with the team comp that they've got set for them, because they do have a good engage with the Black Feather and the Taka, and they have a lot of damage there, especially if they're not deciding to go for that weapon power Taka and they're going for the CP instead, which is a great choice because CP just mounts enemy heroes, especially like Baron, if they're able to get on top of him, or Lance, but Lance a bit tankier, maybe not so much with the weapon power build this time, but we'll see how it works out. And There's a bit of poke damage going up in lane right now, and a bit of a fight going on in jungle. So a fairly aggressive early game for both teams, as neither have got that first blood yet, and they're both making the rotation down to this mid map. And it looks like it could go over to the side of Nebulae. Sync 1 going very low. One more on point would take him out, but the first one misses. But it looks like the broken heart stacks will remain, and Nebulae should be able to do it, but no! It looks like Bren able to steal the first blood away just seconds before them, and both these teams going fairly even so far.
Yeah, but with that, Trophies was able to go into the back lines and steal some farm. Manages to get both backs away from Bren Esports as well. So looking like a very good day for Nebula at least. Although they are slightly, under gold with 8.9 over to 9.5k gold for the side of Bren Esports. But overall, I guess it's a decently fair exchange. And Taka at this point in time don't have that much damage unless consider the basic attack as a lot of damage, but all in all, he really needs an early aftershock. If not, then Storm Crown first to be able to deal a lot of damage onto that of Mr. Jim on the Baron, because we all know Baron would not want to build a lot of defense, as with Trophies as well.
Yep, and there's going to be the engage coming out from the side of Nebulae, but you're right, Taka just not doing enough damage, and I'm starting to wonder if they're not going for the early aftershock and they haven't solved the double weapon blades. Will they go for an early tension bow and aftershock and then Storm Crown?
Well, hopefully not. I mean, only know, okay, because this game is just so strange. It started off strange with the drafting, and there was a lot of speculation. It allows the casters to just put in more thought and a lot of talking, let's say, as compared to the first game at least. So with this, we do see Iron View Die actually picking up the early energy battery as well. So
there's going to be the engage onto Trophies, and they get him very low. However, Lyra is there, but it's another 5 seconds until the Imperial Sigil's up. Taka gonna jump onto the backline, just being a bit of a nuisance at this point. And right now, Trophies has no more of those Rose offensives to get away, so it needs to be careful. Angry Dai going to try jump onto Mr. Jim, but really not doing anything there. There's going to be Sync 1 on that weapon power. Lance, however, showing him what damage is, and then they're going to focus onto Truffless next, and right now Bren Esports just being very aggressive overall as they pick up another kill, and it's leaving Truffless alone to protect this turret. It looks like Black Feather might be back soon, but will it be soon enough as this turret is taking a beating, and it doesn't look like it. They're going to be able to get away with the first turret of the game, also picking up 2 kills in that earlier fight. Bren Esports looking very good, especially with the whole aggressive team comp they've got going on for themselves. Yep,
I mean, for a weapon barrier, I mean, we've seen Bren Esports playing as well, and in accordance to the previous series that they played, they are usually generally the passive team. But now, because they find out and they are showing the entirety of Nebulae what damage is, and I quote you, they are looking just very strong now. Granted, the weapon ban, the petal ban on Nebulae was a decently good ban, but Bren Esports, you cannot just give them 2 roamers to work with protecting Mr. Jim. I mean, Sync 1 landing those very...
Oh, yeah, there's going to be the engage. They might be able to find the kill onto Mr. Jim this time. Iron Cannon getting Trophies very low. However, he's able to Rose offensive over the wall and get out there, but it looks like he ran into Guessing, and Guessing might go for the chase. They have the Retribution. They might be able to get the kill, but there's the Imperial Sigil, keeping them barely alive, and they're just baiting the side of Bren Esports in here into a 3v1, a fight very much in the favor of Nebulae, because Trophy's going to be able to have more than enough health by now, and just going to be able to stack the damage up eventually. And you can see, Angry Dice is starting off with a Clockwork actually, and now going for the Heavy Prism is going to start doing a bit of damage here.
Yep, there you go. So this is the build that I was talking about, that Clockwork into Shatterglass, although I personally would have preferred the Shatterglass. So, when you come up for that early gank, you would just do a lot of damage on your Etsuretsu into a Kaiten and your basic attack as well. But quite an interesting build up coming up from Iron Guild Die with that Stormguard banner just to help the early game, early game clear speed, but with double weapon power, double weapon blade, at least you actually have got the early game clear anyways. So I do not understand that Stormguard banner build all in all, but I guess at this point in time it is working out for them. Bren Esports really have to be cautious at this point in time. They can't just jump in anymore. They know they have got damage, right? So Mr. Jim has got damage, the entirety of Bren Esports have got damage in fact, but that Arcane passive was just used very haphazardly, followed by a bright bulwark as well, not knowing that Bren Esports can easily just run out of your wombo. But so many buts.
Yeah, so many butts, and it looks like they're chasing after Graces right now, but there's going to be the turnaround onto Angry Die. A bit of punishment there, but Ion Cannon placement, it was so close. A very good guess, but not good enough, as Angry Die is going to be able to escape from that one. But I wouldn't be surprised if Bren Esports tried to push for a fight now that they have the advantage. Lyra was split away from the rest of them. They could have gone in, but instead going to stick around as a team and just farm up a bit more. And I'm not too sure about this. Of course, Mr. Jim will get stronger as the game goes on, but this Taka will get harder and harder to kill. You're not going to get opportunities as easy as that once he builds up the Storm Crown, but it looks like they could be going for a Shatter Glass second instead, which makes a lot of sense with the amplified damage on the Clockwork and just being able to jump in there, and more so you turn the tides around and let Nebulae play the aggressor team.
Definitely. So with that Shatter Glass built on Iron Wheel Die, he will be putting out a lot more damage, unlike Bren Chong would expect.
Yep, and there's going to be the fight breaking out. Sync 1 going in, being able to pick up the kill. Meanwhile, it's going to be Truffy's and Mr. Jim who traded it out there. Mr. Jim going to fall, but Truffy's trying his best in the 2v1. There's the Holy Nova, and it's going to be enough to let Sync 1 get the poke in, get the ace, and with we're going to push on to the second turret. However, they took a bit long. Iron View Die is back up. They're just going to push the aced up minions onto the turret and then turn around. Now that Taka is back in the wait. No one has taken the gold mine just yet. However, there is vision on it from the side of Nebulae. Oh, from the side of yeah, Bren. I was wondering why it didn't get popped when Grace walked on it, but I forgot that they were on the blue team.
Yep, and there is one thing to point out as well. Although Taka has got damage, right? He can generally just go in, try his bestest to burn Mr. Jim or burst Mr. Jim down, but the amount of damage that Mr. Jim is putting out in that particular team fight, we saw Trophies and Iron Gudai immediately taken down to an 8th of health, and from then on it was just easy cleanup for Sync 1 missing that impale there.
Yep, and we see the engage coming here. There's a bright bulwark to try and either lock down or keep away Bren Esports. They're not too sure right now. Both teams just going back and forth here with a bit of poke damage. You can see Bren maybe looking for the follow-up, but they're just going to keep the pressure up on this lane.
Yep, and I guess double, or rather protect Mr. Jim Cobb does work out all in all in favor of Bren Esports because of the amount of dives that's coming out from the side of Nebulae. If they do not protect Mr. Jim, and they are not doing an exceptional job, mind you, I just need to put it out there, because Mr. Jim is constantly the first one to go down. If Gassing had got that echo earlier on, probably Mr. Jim would not have suffered a 2 death. But all in all, the amount of CCs coming out from the side of Bren Chong is just a pain to deal with for Nebulae. Nebulae needs that Crucible ASAP, and of course Iron Gudai as well needs to use those Chitin to just dodge out all of the CCs that's coming out from the side of Bren Esports. Not the easiest thing to do as well, although the entirety of Bren Esports, or rather Nebulae, if you realize, they've got skills, they've got abilities to actually dodge out CCs, right? You got Trophies with that Rose Offensive, but at this point in time,
yeah, but we are going to see another team fight break out, and Taka all on top of Baron right now, and soon to be Trophies as well. There's the double Divine Intervention, but it's not going to be enough, and Guessing is just going to get jumped on top of. Meanwhile, Sync 1 trying to escape, There's the arcane passage over the wall. Does he have the impale? Ooh, he's able to combat roll over that one and should be able to find the safety of his turret perhaps. Instead going to go up into this brush, but if Taka spots him out, could be bad. Looks like Angry Dai did not, however, and is going to turn their attention towards Goldmine with the rest of their team, but a fairly decent cleanup by the side of Nebulae, and there's really nothing they can do to keep the enemy off Mr. Jim. Of course, you could try get guessing to peel for them with the Holy Nova, the Benediction jumping in there, but I'm not sure. Divine Intervention is not cutting it. If anything, right now Taka is cutting everything with the X-Retsu, and the Mortal Wound is going to be cutting that healing down. So yeah, Nebulae definitely with the better team comp. I had hope for Bren, and I haven't lost it just yet. I'm just wondering how they're gonna keep Mr. Jim alive.
Just slightly slipping, I see. But all in all, I personally think that if Sync 1, or rather guessing on that Grace, if guessing was put on that Lance and Sync 1 on that Grace, would have worked out a little better. All in all, that is my personal thoughts, because Grace can just opt for the on-hit build, get an echo, just go full on protect Mr. Jim, but another fight might break out with an Retsu going in, or rather Trophies goes in with a Faint of Heart, but they will, and they might just reset. All in all, but I need to finish my point first. So had they just swap it around and play it so that, you know, Sync 1 is on that Grace, plays that on hit Grace, will do a lot of damage, but a fight will be breaking out at this point in time.
Yep, and we see right now that it's actually going in favor of Bren Esports for this time. Taka did not get onto Mr. Jim like he wanted to, and there's going to be Divine Intervention keeping Mr. Jim alive while Black Feather's on the backline trying to get to them, and Sync 1 also receiving Divine Intervention to keep them all healed up. And Bren Esports looking so clean throughout that fight. They managed to keep everyone alive, get the ace, push onto the turret, and now working their way onto this Kraken. That is the Bren that I had hope in.
I guess you are climbing back that, you know, that hope cliff that you were slipping from. But like I say, had they swapped roles, it would have been a little easier. Grace going for that on-hit build with that Shatter Glass, and on top of that as well, an Echo, and maybe Double Fountain for just to protect Mr. Jim. You will not have as much damage as Sync 1 can put out with those impels. But all in all, I personally think it will be more worth it, because that way Mr. Jim would have survived a lot more team fights than he has now. But of course, with this particular team comp and team lineup coming up from Bren Esports, they have got a lot of damage, a lot of burst damage, and we do not see a single ounce of defense whatsoever on Iron Gyutai.
Yep, and it's going to probably stay like that because they don't have much time to make a change now as Kraken pushes up to the anchor turret, and it goes down within seconds. Ion Cannon used as well. I mean, you might not get a kill with it at this point, so why not use it on objectives instead? And you can see Truffy's trying to look for the backline here. As long as Guessing has used the Holy Nova a bit early, I was going to say stays with Mr. Jim, they should be fine, but Mr. Jim just jump jets back from that, puts the damage down onto Angry Uday, and he gets deleted instantly. Now Truffy's looking for some damage onto Sync 1. There's the Fountain of Renewal trying to keep the rest of Nebulae alive, but the turret will not be able to get healed. No, that is not going to work. Truffless, and right now we see Kraken, the whole team of Bren Esports pushing onto this crystal. They're going to be able to take it. It's going to be GG for Game 2, and I believe a third place spot going over to Bren Esports.
Yep, it is a third place spot going over to the side of Bren Esports. Bren Esports definitely showing that they can do without a weapon battle, as long as Mr. Jim is kept alive, and they have got very, very tanky walls to just keep that, you know, objective secured. When I say objective, I really refer to Mr. Jim, because he is basically the turret that just puts out so much damage all in all. Iron Will Die understand the thought process that went into not building a single defense item going up against Mr. Jim, because Mr. Jim has got a slumbering husk as well. So Iron Will Die really has to stay in the fight for a tad longer. I would have preferred if Iron Will Die just rushed the Shatter Glass and then a Clockwork afterwards. That way, the moment he gets his edge Retsu, he can go up into lane and put a lot of pressure onto Mr. Jim, and that way Trophies would have an easier time as well. All in all, we see the build coming out from Trophies as well. Double defense against, just weapon power. We have the Atlas, we have the Metal Jacket, and